Today, I want to make the ultimate guide for finding generational recruits in Dynasty College Football 26. So we made a couple videos talking about generational guys, this, that, and the third. In this video, we're going to cover everything we know, and it's probably going to be my last video talking about generational recruits. Like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel if you want. Let's hop into the content. What is a generational recruit, you may be asking? This guy right here is the perfect example. A 6'6" receiver. I've been talking about this since last year, and they don't come around every single class. Every single recruiting class, you will not see a 6'6" receiver. They usually only come in as a 5-star. Some attributes, some height, weight, some of that stuff. Also, the combination of certain heights and weights for a certain archetype. When it's outside the ordinary, that is what I'm considering a generational recruit, man. So you'll have generational guys in every single class, in my opinion. And you might say that's not generational. It's generational-ish is what I'm alluding to. And just to show you, we literally have one 6'6" receiver in the entire class. Come over here to 4 stars. The tallest is 6'5", and it's only one 6'5", 4-star, 3 stars. It's a bunch of 6'5" guys, but it's literally one 6'6" receiver, and he just happened to be the #1 player in the nation, and he's also obviously a 5-star. That is an example, and we're going to go every single position. We're going to go through position by position and talk through my version of finding a generational recruit, how to find them, things to avoid, things to look for, a little bit of everything. So in my book, it's a few different type of generational guys. There's some guys you can identify just by looking at their height or weight. Some guys you can identify by looking at their playing time deal breaker. I'm going to show you an example right here with the quarterback. And then the third version is going to be the guy you actually have to scout and see, oh, he has 97 speed at corner. He might be generational. He has 95 speed at quarterback. He may be a generational player, or he just has an extremely high attribute, whether it's like 88 finesse moves, coming in with some crazy attributes. So that's like my 3 different type of generational guys. Let's start with the quarterback, and y'all all know this method. You add the athlete scrambling quarterbacks to your board, and all you're looking at here is the playing time deal breaker here, man. So we got some 4 stars, we got some 3 stars, added all of the athlete 3 stars we can, and we're just looking at the playing time deal breaker on the right side of the screen. And you see here, his playing time deal breaker is at A. So we automatically know he is going to have that generational type ability to throw the ball. And this one don't come in with great speed. Sometimes you get him to come in with 88 speed, but phenomenal throwing attributes, man. It don't get better in this. He's going to be maybe the highest overall quarterback in the whole entire class. And we're talking about a 3-star player that we could get very, very easily, man. So it usually is a couple of these guys in each class, and this one seems like we could only identify one, but you could instantly find the best quarterback in the class without even scouting whatsoever. And I mean, we have 5 stars on the list. We could add, all 3 of these 5 stars. This 5 stars already locked us out for playing time deal breaker, and I promise you it's because we have that one quarterback who has the A+. I promise you it's because of that. So we come up here or come down here and we can look at these 3 5 stars we added. Playing time deal breaker is a D because he's not higher overall than that 3-star. C, he's not a higher overall than that 3-star, and D, because he's not a higher overall than this 3-star that has an A. So this tells you he is pretty much the best quarterback in the entire class, man. You could go through and add all of the 4 stars if you want to, but it's pretty easy just to find the best quarterback. It's usually one of these 3-star athlete gems. I'm kind of surprised they didn't change this because I don't know if this was meant to be in the game, but at the same time, I'm not surprised they didn't change it. Next, let's move over to running backs. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I haven't found a great method to find generational running backs. Just being honest, at least not at running back. You can obviously do the method where you turn a gadget receiver into a running back and then you create an insane running back build. But when it comes to just recruiting running back, I haven't found a method to find one of these outstanding or just good running backs consistently. Now, what I will say is I lean away from the athlete running backs if I'm going to keep that guy at running back, if that makes sense. If I'm going to bring in an athlete running back, I'm probably moving him to a different position compared to if I'm bringing in one of them athlete receivers, I very well could keep him at receiver because he's going to be phenomenal at receiver as well. But these athlete running backs, I would rather probably move them to a different position. So I usually avoid them. I'll just go after the pure archetype version, man. So if I want a contact seeker, I'm going to go get a contact seeker. I'm not going to do, the athlete contact seeker is my preference. I'm not saying there's anything factual there. That's just my preference. And I also even search by height and weight, man, because you'll see when we get to receivers, we talked about it early, that's one thing you want to be sure to do. And you can do that for, quarterbacks, running backs, and really every position group to just see the outlier. What's the guy that doesn't have something that nobody else have? And we have young blood. First of all, shout out to Young Blood, man. That's a crazy last name. But he is the only 6'3" or taller running back in the whole entire class. He has that working for him. Y'all see he is a red X, so he's not a gem. He's actually going to be a bust prospect. But literally the only, like I said, 6'3" or taller running back in the whole entire class. You got a couple 6'2" guys. So I added him to the board like with the expectation that he might be outstanding. And he doesn't look very good. These athlete running backs are really nothing to write home about this year. They can be useful, especially you move him to D-line, maybe even linebacker. But he don't look phenomenal. He's also a bust, so we know the development trait and the skill caps won't be absolutely amazing. But he could be very good. He could have something here that's making him, but I don't see it. I personally do not see it. He could have crazy high finesse moves. He very well could because he's an athlete and we don't get to see the defensive stats. But you see, we found the one outlier in the whole entire recruiting class for running back. And like I said, he don't look that good. So like I said, running back, I haven't figured it out when it comes to actually recruiting running back. Like I said, if you do the method with the gadget, oh yeah, you are very, very good. Now, when it comes to receivers, simple. He's either a 5-star. I don't even know if I've seen him at the 4-star level, man. 6'6" receiver. I primarily see him 5 stars. Like I said, maybe you have seen one at a 4-star. Let me know. But every single class, you should be coming over here to see this receiver and just look at height. If you see one that's 6'6", go after him every single time. He is going to be very, very good. Like I said, I consider them the generational archetype. They usually come in with elite and star development trait. They're 5 stars, so, I don't want to say that's a given, but they are 5 stars when they come in. And number one player in the class, we definitely want to bring this guy in and see what his attributes look like. I imagine they will be pretty good. We could look at the 4 stars. You got one 6'5" receiver as a 4-star, and look at 3 stars. You have a bunch of 6'5" receivers, but no other 6'6" receiver in the entire class. I think the reason behind that, what I noticed, the higher in star rating you get, like the bigger, stronger, and like faster they get, and also that factors in height. So that's, I think, why you only see the 6'6" version as a 5-star. Similar to the receiver, come over to tight end. You always want to check for a 6'7" tight end. Yes, 6'7" tight end, man. They are possible. They're usually the athlete archetype, that athlete possession. And I'm going to show you a screenshot that someone sent me. Shout out to you, Trey, for sending me the screenshot of the 6'7" tight end that he literally sent me a few days ago. That is the generational type of tight end, man. Look at our recruiting class. You've seen the 5 stars. We got one 5-star tight end. He's 6'3". The 6'4", we have a couple 6'6" tight ends. 3 stars, your tallest is going to be 6'6". You don't have any 6'7" tight ends in my class. But the tight end that Trey sent me, he's a 5-star. So like I said, once you get to that 5-star, sometimes you get that super athletic, super crazy build. So that's the method for tight end. Look for them big bodies. And the thing is, he can go play safety. He could go play safety at 6'7". Them tight ends come in with crazy hit power. He could play linebacker also, obviously. But safety is the more, I would say, unique conversion. And I'm looking for some crazy stuff. So I like to move them guys to safety. You have a 6'7" tight safety or a linebacker or a tight end. I wish you could play them both ways, but not in this game. So that's your tight end finesse. Now, when it comes to offensive tackles and trying to find, or just offensive line in general, but specifically offensive tackle, let's cover that first. You want to look for the height, the 6'8 archetype, man. It's only 2 in this whole entire class. One's a 5-star right here, and then we have one 4-star 6'8 tight end. You'll see a bunch of 6'7s, but the 6'8 version, we only have 2 in the whole entire class. We can look at the 3 stars. You'll see some 6'7 3 stars, 2 stars, 6'7, 1 stars, also 6'7. You don't see any 6'8s. And when you get to the tackles, or excuse me, the interior of the offensive line, they get a lot smaller. Their height kind of maxed out like 6'5, 6'6 maybe. So if you see a 6'6 guard or center, that's your cue that that guy is an outlier. He could be something special, or he at least is something different, whether it's good or bad. Now, I went ahead and scouted both of these guys, both the 6'8 tight tackles, that's in this class. And I wouldn't say any of them look absolutely outstanding. Brad right here looks the best of the bunch, but he's obviously a 5-star. And it might trigger, oh, he's not a gem. When you see these 4 and 5 stars, you don't need them to be a gem. You don't need that to pop up. You just don't. They could still come in with elite development, great skill caps, without them being a gem, especially as a 5-star. You really don't need that. Now, if he's a bust, that's a key sign that he's probably not going to have elite development. You'll have some busts coming with star development, but usually they're going to come in with normal or impact. So when you see them not being a gem, it's not the end of the world whatsoever. Now, when it comes to defensive line, if you want that crazy defensive line archetype, what I consider generational, you got to get lucky, and we got lucky with this class right here. So we managed to get a 5-star athlete defensive lineman edge rusher. He's going to be a power rusher, 6'6", 254 this one. Sometimes it'll be pretty much 290. You'll see him damn near 300 pounds, and we have a 4-star version I'll show you in a second. But this one right here, I know he's going to be very, very good, man. He could play D-tackle. He's a little bit light, but he could play D-tackle as well. And we got him scouted here, 80 speed, 78 finesse moves, 84 power moves, good strength, 88 strength. Like, could do a little bit of everything with solid speed while also being 6'6", a big body. Like, this is one of them archetype builds that I absolutely love this year, this athlete power rusher. And I'm going to show y'all another version. We got to come over to a different head coach to be able to view this guy. Same recruiting class, but we had to come over here to Alabama because the last coach is locked out for playing style. So Matt right here, same archetype. He's just a 4-star version. And you see 6'5", 297. And the reason I wanted to show you his height and weight, because, yo, why is he that big? But you could get him that big and then also that fast as well. So come over here. You see same recruiting class as the guy earlier. We just talking about the 6'6" version. But let's come over here to the 4 stars. And what I did was I just want to sort by the heaviest edge rushers. And he is the biggest by far. You see that difference, man? 297 compared to 265, both power rushers and both athlete archetypes as well. But a huge difference between weight. The height is both there, but huge difference. And that's what I'm looking for. Like I said, I'm just looking for that thing that stands out, that attribute that generated a little bit differently, a little bit higher. And you see the difference. Josh here compared to our other edge rusher, both 4-star athletes, but the difference in attributes is tremendous in my opinion, man. The power moves, finesse moves, the speed, all good strength as well. And then Josh here, he just drops off when it comes to power moves and finesse moves, man. It's not horrible. Like, Josh is still usable, still a good player, but Matt, different, just different in my opinion. And you see 6'5", damn near 300 pounds, and he's going to come in with 79 speed. Yeah, we need that. Now, moving over to linebacker, D-tackle, I don't really have a crazy finesse for D-tackle, so we're going to go straight over to the linebacker, where we have an athlete thumping middle linebacker. Y'all know how I feel about them, man. Y'all know how I feel about them. Since last year, been the best thing in the game. This year, double down on it. And this one honestly looks underwhelming. For him to be a 5-star, a tad bit underwhelming. I ain't gonna lie. The speed could be a little bit better. The hit power, tackling, all of that. Like, he's super well-rounded. But like I said, the speed could be a little bit better. If you see one as a 5-star, I usually would consider that generational. Just is, man. They don't come in as a 5-star all that frequent. You won't have one in every single class. Some classes you may have two. Here we only have two 4-star versions and we have one 5-star version. So you see they're not all that rare. You get them as a 3-star also, but the 5-star version and 4-star version is really where you get something phenomenal. And you see here, you see the difference. So the speed drop off between the 5-star and 4-star is pretty big, or 4 attributes. Maybe not the end of the world, but with the 5-star, you're getting a little bit more of everything. More tackling, more hit power, more coverage. Man coverage is phenomenal on this athlete thumper. And maybe that's what makes him generational. I put the quotations up because this is borderline in my opinion, but 78 man coverage for an athlete thumper. Like, he's supposed to be a thumping linebacker, but no, he could do literally everything. You could put him at corner. The speed will have to develop, but he could play anywhere on your defense. And this is a generational type archetype, in my opinion. And then lastly, moving over to the secondary, what I like to look for, especially for corners, is just height. Can we find a guy, and this is the no scout method, can we find a guy that just looks amazing when it comes to height? Can we find a 6'3", field corner, or 6'3" boundary corner? It seems like these 6'3" guys usually are the zone archetype. Well, we could find a 6'3" one that's a bumper run, boundary, or the field, one of the other archetypes. Okay, now we may be talking about a generational type guy, and it happens in real life. You have 6'4" corners, 6'5" corners, super rare, but happens in real life, and it should happen in the game, but you just have to find it. You have to look every single recruiting class. You got to spend some time looking through a class to really find the guys that's going to stand out. You can even search min, max, height, and weight, the weight thing. We saw that example for a defensive lineman, so feel free just to do this for every single recruiting class. Same thing for safety, height, weight. See, the thing about safety, it's just so many less safeties in every single recruiting class. Like, safety is the least amount of players, especially free safety. I don't know why, but safety has the least amount of players. Like, you'll find so many other position groups. Even center has a good amount of players, like so many 4-star centers. Safeties, just not that many players at those positions, man. So that's why I feel like you oftentimes don't see safeties getting that high in overall. It's just not that many of them, man. But that's another topic. So that's kind of my breakdown. And like I said, a lot of these I didn't even cover when you just scout a guy and you see a phenomenal attribute. If you see that, he could be generational. Like I said, high speed on a guy, or you going after a certain archetype, but he has something else that's very good. We see that a lot with these athlete power rushers, man. Sometimes you'll go after these athlete power rushers, defensive linemen, and their finesse moves be way higher than their power moves. To me, that's damn near the generational type archetype, man. He's better at something that, in my opinion, he's not supposed to be. Having this athlete middle linebacker with crazy man coverage, better man coverage than zone coverage, it's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That is crazy for athlete middle linebacker, especially when you see the next one, 64 man coverage. You see the drop off, and then also the play recognition dropped off so much. Like, this is a guy that could literally cover his A off for being a linebacker, man. So just be aware of attributes and scouting. The thing is, scouting takes time. It's a little bit more challenging as you have to spend hours to scout compared to when you're just looking through a draft class or recruiting class. You're able just to identify some guys just by looking at their height and weight, man. That's all I got for y'all boys, though. If y'all enjoyed this content, like, comment, subscribe, check out the ebook membership down below, and we'll on to the next one.